Well, I was just interested in Springdale being a better place, and you can't have a better community unless you have better schools.
I think serving on the school board for Adrian and myself, both of us would say and acknowledge that there was really no other way we felt like we could serve our community than to be on the school board, because we were influencing the lives of young people and the direction of how our school district was going.
The great names of people in Springdale, you take the Parson family, Parson schools, the Walker family, Walker schools, the Jones family, Jones school, the Tyson's family. They've all haven't wanted to run the school, but they've been extremely strong supporters. And a guy like me couldn't give $1 million to Springdale School or 75 acres of land for a new school, but I could do my part as a school board member.
And certainly the role as a school board member, we know, isn't to go drive the school bus or to go coach the football team, but it is to provide vision. Adrian had great vision. He could bring that perspective, and really it was a way that he was able to influence Springdale and the families of Springdale and the children of Springdale. And just as they grew up in Springdale, it was a special place, and the education that we were able to get here and to provide to children is unbelievable because of Adrian's vision and the others that have served on the school board, you know, past, present, future.
And I knew some of the people on the school board, and I just remember thinking about Adrian and knowing that he was there, and just knowing that I didn't need to worry about Springdale schools.
You know, you're not a great board member if you never question anything. And it's hard to question your executive director or your president or whatever, but it's your role. If you're going to be a board member, you've got to understand what's going on. You've got to ask questions. Some of them have got to be hard questions.
Adrian is an influencer, and I knew that he would be a good listener of all the constituents, and that good decisions would be made with Adrian in the room.
And you know, there were times when we couldn't tweet and we couldn't send text message, and the only way to make contact was through a phone call. Well, there were many of those phone calls that he took at our home, and there were many of those phone calls that he took at his work that were perhaps from a concerned teacher or from a concerned parent. But he was, again, I always go back to he was willing to listen, even if it was criticism, you know, and sometimes people's perspective that was different than his own. But he was willing to listen to that teacher or that administrator, and certainly, you know, tried to have a sympathetic ear whenever he could in those situations.
When there was an issue before you, Adrian would never be the first one to speak. He would listen. And I can remember many times just waiting for others to sort of, you know, banter about whatever the issue was, and then Adrian would ask a question, or Adrian would make a comment. And you could depend on him for that in those board meetings. I did many times, to make the right comment, ask the right question at the right time that would make everyone else in the room think about what we were doing, the importance of it, and the importance of making not just the right decision, but the decision that considered all the stakeholders in whatever that organization and in our community to think about that. He always brought that.
And I remember I got involved in Circle of Life before it was Circle of Life. It was a home health agency sponsored by Springdale Memorial Hospital, and they had an office over in the old Jones Truck Line office building, and it wasn't as large as this little group here. And there were about 8 people in there, and then they built the new Circle of Life building there on Jones Road. Mrs. Jones gave them the land, and then they raised the money. And since that time, we've opened a hospice home in Bentonville, and plus we expanded Springdale. So that was a $15 million fundraising deal, and you know, for a boy from Murfreesboro, Arkansas, $15 million was a lot of money.
You know, everything that I feel like Adrian did, he did with intentionality. So whether that was having a conversation with one of our employees or with me or one of his grandchildren, and whether that is in person or whether that is on a Zoom call, he is unbelievable in terms of his questions. And he really wants to know what's going on in your life, and my life, and others' lives. I mean, it's always about others with him.
And you just always felt like you were You were the only client or the only person that he was concerned with.
I know Dr. Rollins always said about me, and I'm not sure this is true, but he said he would ask me about something and I'd say, just be right. The story I like best is that he would say when I had something to do, Mr. Luttrell would always give me his opinion, even when I didn't ask for it, and many times when I didn't want it.
If he ever ended up on the other side of a vote and maybe there were other people that saw right and looked different than Adrian did, he was always great to come along, I think, and be a team player to say, you know what, we've made this decision as an organization, we're going to go forward with it, we're going to make this work, and it will be better for the organization as we go along and go forward. So whether that was serving on an Arts Center board, Circle of Life Hospice board, Springdale School Board, I could keep adding boards on top of boards on top of boards. He always did it great, and you know, I talk about him being a role model for me, but he was a role model for many others too in our community. You know, I think one of the neatest things about this particular event is knowing that Adrian's peers and the ones that came before him and that have been recognized by this organization were the ones that chose him and nominated him for this event. I mean, as I have looked at that list of folks that have been recognized in the past, what a remarkable group of people. Truly some of Springdale's finest. And knowing that his peers have done that for him, knowing that his peers put him in the Arkansas Insurance Hall of Fame, just different things like that, you know, what greater recognition than for those that you work with, and they see all of the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they even, through all of that, see, you know, Adrian is a great person that really cares, and for them to recognize him like this is truly special.